Did you know that according to Education Weekly in 2022, 1,145 unique book titles were banned across the country? I'm assuming that all of you guys have read a book at one point or another in your life. Personally, I went to a high school that focused on a very classical education, and so I've read over 50 different banned book titles. And throughout the time, I've heard very thoughtful arguments on why to ban books as well as why to not ban books. And I feel that it's important to explore both arguments and every argument in between. One of the main arguments is that many books should be banned. Those advocating for a ban complain typically that the books in question contain graphic violence, express disrespect for parents or family, is sexually explicit, exalts evil acts, lacks literary merit, is unsuitable for a particular age group, or includes offensive language, or at least is said by Susan L. Webb in 2009. Though one of the main arguments that those supporting a ban argue is that the violence in the book causes the book to need to be banned from children and different school districts. One of such books that was banned for that reason is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. In the book, there are many different scenes of murder done by children to other children, and that's just found to be too graphic by those holding to this belief. Another such book is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, which also contains very graphic violence. However, in this case, it is both to humans and to animals, and many find that to be a little too difficult to digest, especially for those of younger age. Another argument is, according to Christian Century in 2022, some progressive groups have lobbied to ban books that contain racial slurs, such as To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee is a book that does contain many racial slurs and derogatory terms with regards to those of different races, especially African Americans. And it's found by those with these beliefs that that's too difficult for children to read, and honestly too saddening to see a world like that. Another such book is Native Son by Richard Wright, which not only contains many racial slurs but also contains graphic violence and graphic sexual acts, and is a very difficult read, especially for many of younger ages, but also for many of older ages, and so many find that it should be banned. However, not everyone holds to those same beliefs. Not everyone believes these same things. Some believe that no books should ever be banned, not whether they're very violent or whether they contain racial slurs or racial terms. Those that believe this believe that the violence still, even though it exists in it, shouldn't be banned, because we should be allowed to have freedom of speech, and that the violence, even though it's present, the book still contains literary elements that are important. Like in Lord of the Flies by William Golding, the children learn how to self-govern amidst all of the violent acts that they're going through, and it's important for those that do read it to learn how to self-govern and how not to fall into those same traps of violence. In the book Of Mice and Men, there's the points that the book is trying to get across amidst all of the death and violence, that it's difficult to help those with disabilities and to find empathy for those who do have disabilities and those responsible for their care. And so those that advocate for not banning find that those books carry very important literary elements that should still be respected despite all of the violence. Flowers wrote in 2023 that our Constitution does not permit the official suppression of ideas, so many of those who held to those beliefs hold very tightly to the First Amendment. Like in the book To Kill a Mockingbird, although it has many racial slurs, it still carries literary elements, and our First Amendment says that we shouldn't ban or suppress the literary works here, and show that at least in this time that the killing of a mockingbird would be a terrible sin because a mockingbird does nothing wrong, like the killing of an African American that happens in here for doing nothing wrong but existing would be a terrible sin. And in the book Native Son by Richard Wright, they find that although it has many very difficult to digest moments in it, it's still very important to have because it shows all of the different things in life that could happen and spiral out of control, and that could happen if racism continues, and so they find that it's very important. All in all of these books carry very interesting topics to them and are very interesting to hear all of the different arguments throughout this, and that all of these arguments are very thoughtful and very important, whether they're advocating for banning or not banning. And I just hope throughout all of this that I have educated you now on both banning books and not banning books, and that you feel that you could properly form an opinion one way or another. Thank you for listening.